Hello everyone, my name's Tony. I researched the disciplinary actions for licensed professional counselors from the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs, reported by the state of New Jersey in 2020. I researched the actions for the years 2019 and 2020. The most common reason for disciplinary actions were professional misconduct, failure to cooperate with the committee investigations or failure to answer requests for information, and possession, manufacturing, use, and distribution of controlled substances. Other actions that occurred less often include unethical dual relationships, operating out of the scope of practice, practicing without a valid license, boundary violations, failure to pay taxes, insurance fraud, and misrepresentation of services. I must say, when I went over the list, I was very shocked to see the charges that were, the violations that were being brought against the counselors on the board. What shocked me the most is probably the counselors who sold drugs. This one counselor sold drugs to the inmates at the correctional facility where they worked. And another counselor actually violated boundaries and breached confidentiality when they introduced two of their clients together in the office. I thought that was very strange. I was shocked to read that. A common theme that I see among these disciplinary actions is counselor incompetence. Some violations were the result of minimal incompetence, like misrepresentation of services, that a counselor could actually do that unintentionally. More blatant incompetence was selling drugs to clients. This range of incompetence reflects the competence continuum, which is mentioned in Remley and Hurley 2020. It describes the competence continuum as going from gross negligence to maximum effectiveness of competence. Most of the counselors on this list behaved badly, which was another theme. It was poor behavior or misconduct. They knew the risks. It seems to me that they knew the risks to their license revocation, license suspension, and they knew the risk to the level of suffering that their clients may have to deal with as a result of their actions. You could say that these counselors may or may not have been suffering from counselor impairment, but it is counselors' responsibility to engage in self-care strategies to counteract impairment. We're responsible for that. The most recent disciplinary action reported for this year by the State of New Jersey Board Committee in February of 2020. It was reported by the State of New Jersey 2020. It was a counselor licensed as an LPC and certified social worker who had a complaint filed against them by the Attorney General. The behavior that led to the discipline was misrepresentation and professional misconduct during supervised and therapeutic visitation and parenting coordination services. According to the legal state codes included within the order, the counselor violated laws related to gross negligence, misconduct, misrepresentation of qualifications and services, false advertisement, performing acts without a proper license, blurred counseling roles, transferring reports, and scope of practice. Now, the ACA Code of Ethics relevant to this counselor's violations includes sections A6D, which is managing and maintaining boundaries in professional relationships and role changes in professional relationships. They violated section C2A, which is professional competence and boundaries of competence. Section C3, which is advertising and soliciting clients. More specifically, Section C3A, which is accurate advertising. Section C3C, which is statements by others, and C3E, which is products and training advertisements. Section C4 was violated of the ACA Code of Ethics 2014, which is professional qualifications. More specifically, Section C4A, which is accurate representation. Section C4B, which is credentials, and C4C, which is educational degrees. Section C6B, which is public responsibility and reports to third parties, was violated. Section E13C, forensic evaluation for legal proceedings and client evaluation prohibition. And Section I1A, standards and the law concerning knowledge. All of the New Jersey State Code violations that are relevant to the counselor violations from 2020 this February. These are from the New Jersey Administrative Codes 2017. These state codes include 1334-29.2, which is advertising general requirements. Another violation was of the code 1334-29.3, which is minimum content for advertisements and professional representations. Another code is 1334-31.4, which is dual relationships for providing counseling and evaluations to the same client. 1334-29.5, which is prohibited types of types or methods of advertising beyond the ability to perform, which is outside the scope of practice. And finally, 1334-31.8, which is reports and recommendations. An additional code that was violated by the New Jersey state law, which is actually mentioned in the order, was reported by the New Jersey Revised Statutes of 2013, which concerns professionals and occupations. According to Chapter 45, Section 1-21, any counselor reported of engaging in dishonesty, fraud, deception, misrepresentation, false promise or false pretense, gross negligence, gross malpractice or gross incompetence, repeated acts of negligence, malpractice or incompetence, professional or occupational misconduct, permitted an unlicensed person or entity to perform an act, or aided and abetted an unlicensed person or entity in performing an act, or has violated and failed to comply with the provisions of any act or regulation administered by the board, these counselors may have their license suspended or revoked. Getting back to the February violation for this year, the State Board Committee permanently revoked the counselor's social work certification. Their professional counseling license was revoked. They were also required to not make any further attempts to pursue counseling certification or licensure in the state of New Jersey. They are required to refrain from engaging in any further counseling or social work or advertising, and required to refrain from receiving, sharing in, or charging any fees relevant to counseling or social work. As far as counselor impairment goes, as I mentioned earlier, the respondents of the disciplinary acts issued by the New Jersey State Board and Counseling Committee may have been suffering from counselor impairment. The ACA Code of Ethics relevant to this incident is Section C2G, which states that counselors must monitor themselves for signs of impairment and must not offer counseling services if impaired. Counselors must seek help, limit, suspend, or terminate counseling responsibilities until they can safely resume work. Counselors must also help supervisors or colleagues recognize their signs of impairment and aid with impairment and intervene when appropriate to prevent the harm of clients. In the ACA Code of Ethics 2014, Section F5B, it states that it requires supervisees and students monitor themselves for signs of impairment. They should refrain from duties if they're at risk for harming their clients due to their impairment. Supervisees must inform their supervisors of their impairment and seek help. Supervisees must resume their duties when they are no longer impaired to the point of harming their clients. As far as state codes go and counselor impairment, the New Jersey State Administrative Code of 2017, Code 1334-23-1D32 for supervisors of licensed professional counselors, and Code 1334-131D32 for supervisors of licensed associate counselors. These codes are identical for both professional licensed counselors and associate licensed counselors. The code reads that supervisors must discuss with supervisees concerning any problems that may affect the supervisee's ability to work with clients. A question, I'll wrap this up with a question concerning counselor impairment, and that question is it permissible or is it proper to ask for prayer from fellow counselors or from supervisors in a counseling setting if you feel you may be experiencing counselor burnout or counselor impairment? Is it okay to ask someone in the workplace to pray with you if you know that they share your same beliefs, or is that something that should take place outside of the counseling setting? Sometimes people need prayer at a specific time. It might be on a job. So I'm wondering if it's appropriate to ask your fellow believing supervisor or peer if they will pray for you to help counteract counselor impairment. Thank you for watching my blog, and I'm looking forward to your replies. Have a good day.